shots fired.
Unfortunately, sometimes training didn't work.
Code 4, send an ambulance.
10-4, shots fired, needed an ambulance.
Put the knives, I will shoot you. Put the knife down, put it down!
Unrealistic to remove law enforcement entirely from responding to mental health crises.
Put it down!
As it stands right now, we absolutely need more mental health officers.
In the state of Wisconsin, those wishing to become a police officer must go through 720 hours of training in an academy. Of those hours, Madison Police spent 90 hours in firearms training, 75 hours in defense and arrest tactics, and 20 on mental health crisis response. In 2020, communities across the country demanded police reform with a focus on mental health response tactics. But Jamie Perez found there's a lot more to it than the numbers show.
Get down! Get down! Get down! Shots fired! Shots fired!
Is someone better equipped to handle mental health calls than the police? And the answer is yes. And the answer is everyone.
Operator, open up that door.
Everyone together is the best person to handle mental health calls. Not just the police by themselves, not just mental health workers by themselves, not just clinicians or psychologists by themselves, but everyone together.
Newly appointed Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes leads 479 commissioned officers. 6 respond to mental health crisis calls full-time. 42 others are trained liaisons who can assist them when needed. And 3 journey mental health crisis workers are also available to accompany them to these calls. Sarah Henriksen is one of them.
We were to try to just respond out to every mental health related call for service with our 6 mental health officers and 3 crisis workers. There's just no way. We would just be chasing our tails all the time.
As long as officers are involved in the response, Barnes said he wants to make sure his officers are trained for it. Starting this year, MPD officers will be required to go through what's called Integrating Communications, Assessment, and Tactics, or ICAT training, a program that Sun Prairie Police have been using for several years now. Patrol Lieutenant Ryan Cox said it's made a difference in how they respond to calls involving mental health crises.
We try to teach our people to respond and use those threat assessment factors ahead of time so that they're not putting themselves in a bad position that results in a higher level of force.
Just drop it right here, man. I can talk to you. Look, I'm 38 years old. I can relate to you, bro. There's not a thing in this world that I have not dealt with that you probably have dealt with. Okay? At the end of the day, I got kids to go home to. Appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Just relax. Just relax. Just relax. Relax.
The DOJ is looking at standardizing this training, making it mandatory for all Wisconsin law enforcement.
We're constantly looking at standardizing the training in the state for the crisis intervention teams. And so that is definitely something that we support, and we try to provide funding when we can do that as well.
Troy Egger helps train the Janesville Police Department. He's been working on incorporating mental health crisis response training into more than just the 20 hours required by the state.
So what I'd like to do is I like to teach emotional intelligence when we are talking about mental health. Teach emotional intelligence when we're talking about firearms training and, driving and all those things. Like if you can interweave these soft skills into all the different topics, I think that's really what we have to do it on an academy level.
I think 20 hours is certainly not enough for any police department.
While Wisconsin's required hours of training is actually higher than many states, according to the DOJ, Barnes knows that the 20 hours isn't working for everyone. But MPD does have required training for its officers beyond the academy level.
Do de-escalation, professional communications, scenario instruction, because all of these pieces are encompassing crisis response. We're upwards of 100 hours.
Until funding is available to provide more mental health resources statewide to prevent these types of situations from happening in the first place.
I got cuffs, I got cuffs, I got cuffs. You want to hurt me like No, we don't want to hurt you.
Police say they're working on doing better for the people they serve.
Better students we're going to produce, and the less likely we're going to have issues that we see all the time.
And Cox said if more police departments get on board with doing what they can, where they can, it will result in better outcomes for everyone.
There has to be willingness on both, from a professional side of the police department as well as the people that they serve. They're consumers, they're customers, right? That's who we serve. There has to be both sides that are willing to hear that and learn from it.
For News 3 Now, I'm Jamie Perez.
The Sun Prairie Police Department wants to start inviting the community to sit in on parts of their officer training as soon as next year to build trust and transparency. Madison Police are looking at something similar. Chief Barnes says anyone with input or feedback should contact him directly.